I love it because I get the opportunity to craft the person that I want to be. And I'm Mary Blake. I own this company. I'm the CEO. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to make a lot of money and we're going to help a lot of people jump on or don't. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And you figured one of those solutions was to come on my show. Because
you asked me here. Oh, sorry.
I did ask her to come on. See, this is what we do. No, I'm not cutting it out. I'm just.
Take that.
What do you want the next chapter of your own life to look like?
Oh, gosh.
I already know that one thing that you thought about doing that didn't work out. What if I wanted that and I say, look, I want everything that I just asked you about, and I may want some additional services that I don't necessarily want my wife to find out about. Is that an option? Welcome to another edition of the Kenn Rashad Show, where we profile and highlight entrepreneurs who are doing tremendous things in the communities in which they serve. And today's show is no exception. As a matter of fact, I think it's a little special. And I'll tell you why in just a little bit. My next guest is a healthcare professional turned entrepreneur who believes travel is more than escape. It's medicine. And after years of working in environments where burnout, stress, and imbalance were the norm, she decided to build a company that helps people reclaim joy, restore their well-being, and reconnect with themselves through intentional travel experiences. Today, she stands at the intersection of wellness and entrepreneurship as the co-founder and CEO of Trvl-Pro, a company that helps people slow down, reset, and travel with intention. Please welcome to the stage my special guest. Full disclosure, she is my little cousin, but she is very, very smart, and she is brilliant. Welcome to the stage, Mary Blake. Cuz, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm just going to tell folks right now. It is going to be very difficult for me, especially me, and maybe even her, to kind of show a side to us that you probably hadn't seen before. We're going to keep it professional here, but I just want you to know that when the cameras are not rolling and when we are behind closed doors, we do have a tendency to kind of show our asses a little bit, just a little bit, because she, despite her brilliance, I'm telling you, she is absolutely hilarious. But anyway, see.
Thank you.
She is very, very funny. But anyway, Mary Blake, welcome to the show. And for those who may not know you like I know you, as a matter of fact, there are a lot of people who don't know you like I know you. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are family, and Kenn is being generous when I say he's actually a lot of times the funny one, and I'm trying to hold some kind of composure, but he's the one who's the character. But anyway, Trvl-Pro is a concierge service that works. We're B2B, and basically we work with businesses that have employees who travel frequently, or businesses that have clients who travel, and they're looking for ways to reduce the hassle and stress of the planning around travel. Mm-hmm. So instead of outsourcing multiple areas, locations for different items, or trying their best to kind of piece together, they can contact us, let us know where their party is going, how long they will be traveling, and what they are going to do. And we will pre-pack travel bags for them and help them create and manage an itinerary as they travel. It takes the hassle of packing, the hassle of planning, the hassle of the details surrounding travel out when it comes to a group. And they would contact us, let us know where they're going, what they're doing, and how long they're going to be in travel. And we will prepackage bags for them and deliver it to them. So
So,
it's more of a concierge delivery service for
gotcha.
high end B2B.
Okay, concierge. That was the word that I was looking for. So, granted, it's a concierge experience. So I take it when it's all said and done, and when I guess when it's over with, after you've provided the service, what do you want folks who invest in your service? What do you want them to ultimately walk away with? What type
Mm-hmm.
of experience?
I want them to ultimately walk away with an experience that has brought value to their overall trip, an experience that makes them feel that if, like, for example, if you have delivered high-end steaks or wine or some other amenity that's delivered to you, and that becomes your go-to, I want them to regard us as their go-to travel service.
Hmm. Okay. You come from a wellness mindset.
Hmm.
How does that show up in the way you design your travel experiences?
Yeah, so great question. That is imperative because what happens, wellness is such a vague term, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people, when they think of health or wellness, and knowing that I come from a healthcare background, they automatically assume it has to be medical. But
Mm.
most wellness, to be honest, lies in preventative health and our lifestyle. And when those are in balance, you don't even need as much medical health per se. So, when I say wellness and health, I'm more so talking about mental wellness. We're talking about lifestyle wellness, and that is how stress free are you? How much sleep are you getting? When you are traveling in this scenario, we're focusing on things like making sure that the clientele is able to sleep. So you have to be conscientious of time zones, making sure that jet lag is minimum, because
Hmm.
since we are B2B, you want your clients to be able to literally hit the ground running. You want to make sure that if they're going to be partaking in any type of events, that they're well informed on what the event is. For example, if they're going on a wine tour, you want to make sure that they've got something the next day to mitigate hangovers. That's still a part of wellness. And then you just really want people to be on their A game all the time.
Right.
When you are, as someone who comes from an industry where you're constantly traveling, a lot of times you'll just feel this travel fatigue. When you do finally get to your destination or you get home, you're exhausted, you're tired, you need downtime to recover, and then you're expected to perform. So ultimately, we want people to always be on their A game, always feel like they can perform, and whether they are on the our luxury arm, which is the private jet companies and higher end aviation side cruises, or they're our um, corporate arm,
Hmm.
which is more of military bases or other kind of uh, uh, white collar travelers. We just want everybody to feel that we can be a source that is going to deliver high end products and is going to be reliable.
So it almost sounds as if even travel, as necessary as it is, it almost seems as if there's somewhat of a misunderstanding about travel because if I didn't know any better from what you're saying, it almost sounds as if there's kind of like a right way and a wrong way to travel. And that from what I'm getting, travel doesn't have to necessarily be a tedious thing, if you will.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there is necessarily a right or wrong way to travel. Um, just from my experience in the field, it seems like a lot of people are just ill prepared when it comes to travel.
Yeah.
They will, even starting from the packing process, they're waiting to the last minute, and then they're just kind of throwing things in a suitcase, or they're trying to order a lot of things from the store or Amazon, or they're rushing, they're frantic. And what happens is it becomes a really stressful experience. And ultimately, some people don't want to travel because they get tired of that hassle and the stress and the feeling like, oh, we've got to get through TSA, and we got to get through our gate. And now TSA is flagging the bag and pulling out liquids and, making us throw half of it away, when if you had worked with a service that was already TSA compliant, guaranteed, it's the little things that help ultimately make for a stress-free trip. So,
hey folks, Kenn Rashad. We'll get back to the show in just a second, but I've got to take a quick pause just to put something on your radar. My business coach, Dr. Myron Golden, is hosting his next Make More Offers Challenge. And if you're serious about growing your business, scaling your income, and creating lasting impact, this is the place to be. It's 5 days of high-level teachings that'll show you how to structure, price, and position offers that don't just sell, but they help your business grow with purpose. I've been through this challenge myself, and it completely shifted the way I think about business, from how I build to how I serve. So do yourself a favor, go to offers.kennrashad.com and secure your spot for the next Make More Offers Challenge. Now let's get back to the show. Yeah, so you speak a lot about wellness. What would you say are kind of like the biggest wellness challenges that you see with the people that you work with, and how does travel help it?
That is a fantastic question. For clarification, are you asking what are the biggest wellness challenges in people that we see?
Just in general. Just in general.
Okay. So not as relates to travel.
Yeah.
Kind of in general.
Yeah. But I'm asking, if you deal with travel, but I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that travel is the end all be all for whatever challenges they're going through, but I guess explain the ways in which travel can help, because we know that there are challenges with travel that can kind of, I guess, stress people out. But as it relates to wellness in general, how can travel help in general, if you will?
Absolutely. Great question. Okay. I got you. Understand. So I'm going to answer that with a real story. And this just happened to me the other day. So I have a friend, and she is from New Orleans. She came over to Dallas during Katrina. And prior to that, she had never been out of Louisiana, and, came over to Dallas. So we kind of had like a little Friendsgiving, girls get together. And she shared that prior, to her coming from Louisiana to Dallas, which is not a super big culturally different shift. However, we didn't realize that just from Louisiana to Texas, Dallas area, there were some culture shocks for her and her family, and her whole family moved. And some of those culture shocks ended up being really stressful for her grandmother, so that her grandmother wouldn't leave the house, to the effect that her grandmother had a heart attack, and nobody was in her house at the time to find her. Luckily, she was okay, but come to find out that she was afraid to leave her house because Dallas is, by comparison, a really large city. And she didn't know anyone, didn't know who to call, didn't know what to do, and was afraid of the traffic because she wasn't driving. So all that to say, when it comes to health and travel, if you are not in a place logistically or financially where you're able to experience other cultures, other cities. I just gave the example of a small city, or a city in Louisiana to Dallas, which, like I said, ultimately isn't even that big of a shift. But for someone who's never left Louisiana, the idea of going to an even larger city like Atlanta or Los Angeles or New York is so daunting to people that they don't do it.
Mm.
Ultimately, what happens, and this is kind of the bigger picture, is that if you're not able to experience other cultures, other traditions, other people, and the way they live firsthand, you have no option but to get that information from either the media or just hearsay from friends and family. That's detrimental because think of COVID. A lot of people had such misinformation about, healthcare in general, specifically vaccines, but a lot of things in healthcare, the trustworthiness of healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
So when you're not able to experience travel or other people in general to understand where they come from, to understand other perspectives, even people that you may not necessarily agree with, it ends up affecting you stress wise, which can affect your lifestyle, which can affect your finances, which can affect your mental health, which can affect your physical health. So the idea is that there's this whole ecosystem, if you will, surrounding health, and travel ends up being a pretty important component because it ends up addressing all of those buckets in minute ways.
Right. So let's talk about your operation as the co-founder and CEO of Trvl-Pro.
Mm-hmm.
What does a typical day look like for you?
I will say the typical day for an entrepreneur who's kind of have multiple hats in multiple industries, each day is a little bit different. I will say I start the day the night before by writing a to-do list of kind of a checklist of what I need to do the following day because of that, because there's some days where I'm on the computer and I'm checking emails every day. There's some days that I'm typing up proposals or drafting different letters for contracts. There's some days that we're having meetings to see. This week we had three meetings to talk to other potential partners. So I said, you really are everything when you are co-founding a role. And some days you're HR, some days you're admin, some days you're sales, some days you're researching, some days you're just sitting around wondering if what do I do next? What are the next steps? So, each day I will say though, I'll begin the morning in prayer. So that is probably one constant that I try to do because that grounds me and it centers me. And that way I can just say like, Lord, I don't know exactly how things may deter if I've got one path and you have another idea for me, but just speak through me, help me to speak in wisdom and to have other opportunities come to me and have ways that I can bring value to other people in hopes to, be a positive influence. So that's kind of how my days are. It depends. And I will say I try to stick to my checklist. So I'm pretty religious about doing that the night before so I can hit the ground running in the mornings. Yeah.
Mary, it sounds like it's a piece of cake for you.
It's a cakewalk, right?
Nothing you can't handle, right?
In fact, that's why I started a second business.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy. See, there we go. No, we're going to stick to this business.
Stick to this. Well, you know what? I should mention it because they're interconnected.
Okay.
So, we talked about Trvl-Pro kind of being this concierge service for travelers, right? And very briefly, I mentioned that the reason that's so important is because it affects people's livelihoods
Yeah.
and your lifestyle. And that can go physical health, mental health, financial health, etc. So, and this was also during COVID time, and it's related to Trvl-Pro because it was first, and then Trvl-Pro came from it. So it's an app that I started named PathoSpy, and basically what PathoSpy is evolving into now is it's going to be a virtual reality experience for people that cannot travel due to logistics or financials. The idea was to partner with hospitals, like healthcare, and health is always going to kind of be the underlying background. But the idea is to partner with hospitals that have kids who are terminally ill, who are not able to travel, who are not able to see other cultures, who are not able to really experience things like that. And basically, it's a virtual reality experience that gives them the ability to see, for example, we have a safari, a Kenyan safari. So they're able to see different animals. And then it will give kind of how, if you watch Discovery Channel, and it's David Attenborough. It's
David Edinburgh? Edinburgh?
Edinburgh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's a narration, and this one will focus on culture.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we're working on safari experience. We're working on the Great Wall of China. Working on an Arctic experience. So penguins, polar bears, and we are also working on, I think it's a Dubai experience. But said all that to say, trying to pick experiences from different continents. And that way, you put on the headset and it's going to give you some entertainment, but it's also going to give you some educational points for people that cannot travel due to logistics or financials. So,
Mary, so there are many, and I'm not judging you because I get it, because you mentioned this other venture, and you're saying that obviously it ties into Trvl-Pro. But there are many experts who would warn up and coming entrepreneurs or people with these entrepreneurial endeavors. They are emphatic in saying that you should probably focus on one and not necessarily focus on more than one.
Sure.
And I'm not necessarily saying that's a right or wrong thing, because I've seen a number of entrepreneurs who have multiple endeavors and they do well. What are your thoughts on people who are so-called experts who say you should only focus on one thing? What are your initial thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, so I would agree. I would agree that, we only have 24 hours in a day. All of us, from very bottom to top level C-suite. And the way in which you spend those 24 hours is going to look different. I think when it comes to being able to drive two ventures, number one, I mentioned so I do have another partner. And what we kind of do is he will focus on one aspect and then I'll focus on one aspect. So that is something that's helpful. And then the other thing is sometimes I mentioned my checklist and kind of, how I plan my days or plan my weeks. Sometimes I will have weeks where I will focus on one over the other. Luckily, since the app is, we have a developer who designs it. Luckily, that one is a little bit more hands off at this time. And we'll just do weekly check-ins with the developer to see how it's coming along. But said all that to say that you really do need a overarching vision and plan. Obviously, it will change, and it has. It's changed a lot. But I would say it's important to not just kind of get out there and say, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Because number one, sometimes budgets are finite, which is also why it's important to, maybe have some investments or maybe have additional monetary incomes coming in, so you're able to address bills and finances and payments and invoices. But so all that to say, if you have an overarching vision sometimes there are things that you're going to need to plug into it to really help people understand the full potential of what you're looking to do.
Yeah, and from what it appears, and this is, I think, a note just based upon what you're saying, you're not necessarily a solopreneur. You're not doing all this by yourself. You actually have partners and a team to kind of help you move forward as you try to put these things into place. Or at the very least, you know who to contact in the event that you need something done if you can't necessarily do it yourself.
Yeah, so I do. I have a partner. Yes, I
Yeah.
have a partner, and we've co-founded Trvl-Pro together. And when it comes to certain points, there are things that I will take leader on, and then certain things he will take lead or take point on. But we also contract out with developers or freelancers, and so we'll use platforms that will allow us to use freelancers in one-off kind of work, so like Upwork or Fiverr or things like that, and
Gotcha.
that's really helpful because sometimes also it's, you'll try something and it doesn't work, so you don't want it to be out of
Right.
a lot of resources or out of a lot of time. But it's really more so helpful for things that I am not a specialist at and don't want to spend a lot of time doing. I can find someone who, that is their niche or that is their specialty, and for, an agreement, they'll come in and they'll take care of it for me so that I'm able to continue on the big picture.
Right. So let's take it a step back. Let's kind of go back a bit and kind of
Okay.
go to the foundation that led to you to get to this point.
Okay.
What before entrepreneurship, you were, I guess, in the healthcare world, and I
Mhm.
remember obviously when you were studying. But what originally drew you into healthcare?
You know, I don't know 100%. Um, I've always loved science, even from being really, really young. It's always just been what I've wanted to do. I initially was pre-med, and probably my second year in finishing my undergraduate degree, where you have to start shadowing in a hospital. And I started shadowing at Parkland County Hospital. And I realized that it wasn't the exact fit that I was hoping for. So I was trying to figure out how I could still stay in healthcare, but not go the medical doctor route.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what started the journey. And I ended up going into clinical research, which I really enjoyed, and kind of excelled up the ladder there, to where I was more of a traveling clinical consultant, like I mentioned earlier, and then now transitioned to professor of nursing.
Mm.
Um, and then I'm also finishing my doctoral degree in health science and policy. So ultimately, it will still circle back to healthcare, but more on now writing policies for healthcare.
Right. Right.
So um, I,
I
w-
told I told you guys she was a nerd, but
I would probably, you know what though, on a serious note, I would probably say, and I know we won't get too much into this. So my my father died of cancer when I was really young,
yeah.
and my mother raised, myself and Nathan, myself and my brother.
Yeah.
And I remember having a fascination and a curiosity about that. I would ask her a lot of questions when I was younger, where did he go? And even as I got older and I understood obviously what happened, I think I just had a curiosity about what cancer was,
Yeah.
and how did he get sick, and why do people get sick, and well, what if this had happened, what if that had happened, that might, now that we're talking about it, that might have kind of sparked
Yeah.
that initial curiosity may have been one of my earliest sparks of something that I wanted to pursue answers and solutions to. And then that just kind of led to, well, if I want answers and solutions about, not just cancer, but a bigger picture of health and wellness, then I'm really going to have to dive into it and get my degree. And then I end up really loving it. So I
Yeah.
think that it ended up just being a good fit.
So
otherwise, otherwise, I would have gone into media because I actually do love. I love speaking. I love performing. I love being on a stage. I love a big crowd. So I probably would have went into I don't maybe acting or um,
oh,
news anchor. News anchor. Yeah,
don't
that
get me
was
started.
yeah.
We don't. This is not the place because I'm so tempted to tell the story, and I'm not going to do it, Mary. I'm not going to put
Don't
you out
tell
there.
the story.
I'm not going to tell that story. But I just want you guys to know when she says she was considering media and acting and all that other
I
stuff,
probably would have done that.
just she is brilliant. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, but when I tell you she is hilarious, because I call her probably one of the coolest nerds that I know, and I'm not just saying that because I know her. I'm just simply telling you because this. Put like this. Let's put some things in perspective here, okay? Because this we gonna go off script.
Mm, yes.
Obviously, you know my wife. We can literally be sitting down, and all of a sudden, oh, I heard from Mary today. Or, when's the last time I talked to Mary? Or we just say, I got a text from Mary. And we don't even go any further. And immediately we would just erupt in laughter. Just like that. See, that's just how special Mary is in my life and in our lives. Okay. I know that she's going to kill me saying this, but you guys have to understand, man, she really is something else. Okay. So let's get back to.
I mean, maybe it's not too late for me to consider that career
Oh,
in
hell
media.
yeah. It's too late. Don't. Oh my God.
Don't tip me.
I'm not.
Don't tip
Don't.
me.
No. Don't. Please. I'm telling you for the sake of everyone involved. And as your big cousin, I think
You
I
see
have a
me on
certain.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. No. I have a responsibility to help you from yourself. Okay. So let's get back to. So
Okay.
okay. So Mary, you obviously have these personal experience, and as they always say, when you tend to go into business, it typically is done for the purpose of maybe addressing a need. And I
Yep.
understand wellness being what it is and so forth, but talk about the initial steps that you made to kind of step into entrepreneurship, because was there a fear factor? Did you know what you were doing when you kind of made that decision to move forward? But talk about that initial moment you say, okay, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to do this thing. Talk about that moment.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I've ever shared this, so this will be a new story. So, this was right before COVID, so 2019. And I had just been promoted into the role of kind of this traveling clinical consultant with pharmaceuticals. And I got a nice sign-on bonus
Mm.
for this company. And I remember specifically thinking like, okay, this is a nice chunk of change, a nice chunk of money. What do I want to do with it? And so, obviously, yeah, you want to deposit it, but I really thought, okay, this is something that could help change the trajectory of where I am now to open up doors, provide steps to where I want to be and who I want to become. How do I do that? So, to be honest, I was either going to buy a house, or I said I'm either going to buy a house or I'm going to go into business for myself.
Just like
And
that.
I mean, it took time to kind of finalize that thought. But yeah, I at the time was living with my mom, and I really wanted, I've always been independent, obviously, always been kind of a go-getter. But yeah, I really wanted my own physical space.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that if I sacrifice that, then it needs to go into something that ultimately will help me become, number one, the person that I want to be, and number two, ultimately produce something where that finances would never be an option or a difficulty. So,
Right.
That was kind of the conversation I had with myself. And then I started praying about it. And I was kind of like, God, give me some kind of sign, give me some kind of sign, give me some kind of green light, give me some help, because I don't come from an entrepreneurial family.
Yeah.
We're very much about school and
Yep.
studying. My mom was a teacher.
Yep.
And military.
Yep.
Her and all her sisters were military. So it was either, go to college, get a good job, stay at that good job, save your money, or while I was in college, I actually considered going to the Navy for a bit because they would pay for my medical school. So
Yeah.
it was either, university or active duty armed services. So yeah, that was pretty much the beginning conversations that I started having with myself. I got this, nice chunk of money, and I wanted to implement it into ways that was going to propel my future and propel the type of individual I wanted to be.
You obviously are an expert in, I guess, the healthcare field based upon, what you were studying in your studies and that you continue to study.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about the challenges associated with what you know and the discipline in which you're obviously been spending years studying versus
Yeah.
the actual day-to-day of entrepreneurship. Talk about the challenges associated with that. Was this an eye-opening, like, you know what, I got this plan and this is $1 million plan, and then I'm gonna, this is great, and this is gonna be the thing that revolutionize how we do this, and then all of a sudden you get there and then you be like, how talk about some of the
What
challenges.
was that?
Yeah.
I mean, how much time do we got? Because that's a whole. I'll make it short.
Yeah. Some of the challenges that you weren't necessarily expecting, because I hear this all the time with people who got this idea, and it typically is based upon something that they know an awful lot about.
Mm-hmm.
But then there is that actual thing of the business of knowing the business, or that area of actually knowing what business is, that tends to always kind of get in the way. What were some of the challenges for you, or what are some of those challenges still for you?
You know what? I will say initially, I expected that the biggest challenge would just be financial.
Mm.
I expected that, yeah, I've got this little chunk of change, but I know that money's going to be kind of the ongoing issue, and maybe I can get investors, and we can do a pre-seed round, or I can do a friends and family, or I can even do a crowdfunding. So initially I expected for the biggest challenge to be financial, monetarily. And to be honest, I wish that that was the case, because that's easy. However, the biggest challenge wasn't that. The biggest challenge is you're in your head and you know the plan that you have. Taking your concept and taking your idea and turning it into a prototype, and then trying to help explain how that prototype can bring value to somebody who doesn't know you, So they don't necessarily like you, so they don't necessarily trust you. That is the biggest challenge. People are extremely, extremely emotionally decision based, and that's in both healthcare and life. So now that that also came up a lot with me during COVID. I did a couple other podcasts. I was on Fox News, and then I also spoke at a local high school. And the biggest thing that I saw in person was that people will more soon side with something that they can relate to, and they will side with people that represent a narrative that they trust. For they will necessarily side with data or statistics or information. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, that's very, very true. And that's why I myself, I mentioned that we've pivoted a little bit. And the pivot has been to put a bigger focus on just being trustworthy, just bringing value through our message, just being people that come off as likable, people that come off as subject matter experts, yes, but people that look like I would like to do business with them, or people that would look like I would like to know more about her expert opinion in said healthcare topic. Let me reach out to her. And so that's been a big pivot. And it's been probably one of the bigger challenges because you just assume that just because you've got a degree, people are going to trust you, or just because you say, I have all this experience in travel and I lived abroad and my mom was in the military and I travel for work, that people will automatically go with your opinion or go with your recommendation. That's not the case. You have got to show your value through your likability and through your trustability, or they will pick a lesser party who probably doesn't know as much, but if they come off as more trustable and if they come off as more likable, they will be emotionally bound to that narrative.
Okay. In 1949, Paul Tank Younger, a fullback from Grambling, signed with the Los Angeles Rams as an undrafted free agent. He went on to become a 4-time Pro Bowler and later became the NFL's first black front office executive. But the way he got there says even more. When the Rams sent a scout to sign him, the offer was for $4,000. Not because he wasn't worth more, but because they thought paying the minimum would improve his odds of just making the team. But that's when Grambling coach Eddie Robinson stepped in. He pushed back by saying, look, give him $6,000. And if he isn't good enough, cut him. That single moment mattered. It wasn't just about Tank Younger. It was about HBCUs demanding respect at a time when the rest of college football was still wrestling with integration. Stories like this are why I wrote the book, HBCU Sports 101, a guide to understanding black college athletics. Because it's bigger than just stats and scores. It's about culture, legacy, and the people who changed the game. You can get your copy now at KennRashad.com, signed bundles, the ebook, and more, or pick it up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other places where books are sold. So let's kind of talk about where you are now and kind of like the future, okay? Because I think correct me if I'm wrong. Is it safe to say that wellness travel is probably the industry that you're in? Is that a safe category to put in?
That's safe to say. Or wellness travel, concierge health type travel. Sure.
How do you see the area of wellness travel evolving over the next few years?
So I don't know if you saw this post, but it came out I think a few weeks ago that the genre of wellness as a concierge service has just recently hit $1 trillion. So it's growing exponentially. I mean, it's growing faster than even we can keep up with. We're trying to, get to a place where we've got a really big kind of lunch pad. and project ourselves forward as fast as possible, but it's growing exponentially because you have, number one, kind of coming out of this post-COVID area, if you will. And I mentioned in the beginning that we focus on the luxury market, so we're more high end. And so we've had talks with Meta World Peace, run our test, and he was really interested in partnering with Trvl-Pro for the FIFA World Cup coming up next year. We've
Is that
also
something is that something that's still ongoing right now? The possible partnership with Ron Artest?
So we're still in talks. You
Okay,
know, I'm not at liberty to say
fair enough.
no, yay or nay. I will just say that, you know, we've had several conversations, several Zoom meetings. We've met him in person. So, you know, we will address that accordingly at the right time. But
Hmm.
said all that to say, this type of service, because it's essentially a high-end delivery service for travel and wealth, travel and wellness, it's not limited to one specific industry. So, you know, that was the sports side that we've had some conversations with. We also have a client, actually, a private jet company out of Dallas. And we also have had some talks with one of the Air Force bases out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so all that to say, because of the nature of the type of business that it is, we're not limited to one specific industry. But we do still want to make sure that we're as niche as possible. That being
Okay.
said, you don't just want to be so scattered. But I would say where we are now is we're continuing. We've just spoke to, or we've just secured a partnership coming from the Web Summit Conference, which was in Lisbon, Portugal,
Yeah.
last month, 2 months ago. So right now we're just building. We're just
Yeah.
building, and we're trying to see how we can bring value into different industries with this type of model. And then also our app is finalizing version 2. So
Nice.
prototype is already available on both Google and Apple Play for download. And now we are kind of finalizing V2. And that will be the integration of our virtual reality travel based experiences. So
Hmm.
that's where we are right now. And then, oh, and also, I mentioned essential oils, talking
What? No.
to a
Okay.
company.
So, well, no, no.
Yep.
Stop. What is this? What is this again? What kind of oils?
Essential oils.
You did what is the name of that?
It's like, hmm?
No, I'm
Sorry.
trying to get you. You mentioned that clients have been asking for what again?
Essential oils.
Uh,
Essential.
uh,
So basically, like, you can have certain herbal medicinal oils made for you for your travel.
oh
So
wow.
yeah. So for example, um, this client, they specialize in a THC type of oil, and you
A
roll it on.
THC type of oil.
This one, yes.
Hmm.
But
Do
you
tell.
roll on, and I mean, I mentioned in the beginning, the idea is to give clients a seamless, stress-free travel experience.
Boy,
And
you
since
weren't
a
joking,
lot
were
of
you?
them are flying private, you know, there's no stipulations on that per se. But
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, you know, we um we will do anything to help your trip be as comfortable as possible.
There's a certain song that comes to mind as you.
Well, let me not say anything, because
I hear you.
people take the one word and they'll just run with it, right? But
Hmm.
no, we really do try our best to address all areas
I
of
see.
people's anxiety,
Yeah.
all areas of people's discomfort.
Gotcha.
So yes, and they also make a type of melatonin gummy, which is completely natural.
Yeah.
So we're looking to implement those into the services in the future. So that's where we are. I hope that answers
Yeah.
your question.
Yeah. Yeah. That
You'll
definitely answered the question.
have to stay
I'm
tuned
gonna
for
ask
more.
you more about that after we get off.
Yeah, yeah. Ask me more afterwards. I
Yeah.
will say, I will say on the serious note, I think that next year we do want to officially launch our first seed round, because we're a C corp company. We switched from an LLC to C
Mm-hmm.
corp, and so we're based out of Delaware. So we have market shares. We actually have shares, 2 million shares, and they're currently valued at 0.02 cents. But
Hey.
I know, right? But I think that we do want to officially try our hand at an official seed round. So
Okay. Excellent.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that'll
So
be
so
that'll be fun. That'll be interesting.
but so for the industry that you're in, I mean, this seems like something that, while it obviously has a lot of potential, it doesn't really appear to be an area that's cluttered. Or am I overstating that? I mean, do you have a lot of
Yeah.
competitors, or are there a lot of similar
Um.
services in your
So
space?
it's
Or
funny you say that. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because when people hear travel, they automatically go to sometimes your travel agencies. They Expedia, TripAdvisor, Priceline, where you
yeah,
can, if you're booking per se, you can kind of throw in a bundle, and you can get a flight, you can get a hotel. So the the logistics of travel, I will say, is fairly cluttered, fairly congested. When it comes to concierge travel, there are, obviously, yeah, we do have competitors, but there's no one who does essentially what we do, how we do it.
mm,
And even if there was, I think competition is good. Number one, it validates your MVP. It validates that you're doing something that other people deem useful or necessary or something worth purchasing. But number two, it helps bring traffic to you if you have a partner, or excuse me, a competitor who's doing the same thing but differently. Look at, every time you see a Lowe's, there's always a Home Depot nearby.
mm-hmm.
Every time you see a CVS, there's typically a Walgreens nearby. And they're direct competitors, but they also help bring in their own clients, and they help kind of cross pollinate, if that makes sense. So we do have competitors. I would say, if you want to put it into a perspective, it would be kind of a cross between Amazon and Uber Eats, or gosh, I can't think of any.
Okay.
I have a list of some, but
Okay.
I would say Amazon and Uber Eats. And the reason I say that is because Uber Eats has the delivery component, which we do, and they'll try and bring you things that you can order directly from their website or app,
Yeah.
which we do. And Amazon has the merchandise component, so
Yeah.
that's where you can look up things that are in any industry, and we just happen to try and focus on wellness.
Yeah.
But yes, Amazon is a service that you kind of look up items and they deliver to your house and you order
Right.
them. And, I'm not sure, I don't think you can really order in bulk,
Yeah.
but we do have a supplier out in China, so we have that capacity
Okay.
to order bulk.
For someone who is like watching or listening, who's burnt out today,
Mm. Hmm.
what's one step they can take now before planning a trip
Mm.
to start reclaiming their well being?
And when you say burnt out, do you mean burnt out in career base, or
Just
just burnt out in
whatever.
life?
Yeah.
Just
Just
I'm
yeah.
just
Yeah.
tired.
It could. Yeah. And
Hmm.
they know something is wrong, but they need to fix
Hmm.
that, whatever it is. Um,
That's such a good.
how do they reclaim that through travel, or how can they? What are some
Yeah,
suggestions? Yeah.
yeah, that's such a good question. question. I'm gonna remember that specific question for future speaking engagement.
Well, I am a journalist. I dig deep, and I ask the hard questions. And damn it, I want an answer.
Well, I'm gonna do my best to give it to you. You know what? I would say it's probably part of the answer, part of the solution. When you're burnt out, number one, you've got to have a hard conversation with yourself. You know, and it's why you burnt out. And it typically has to do with ways that you have not yet met your expectations for yourself, physically, financially, mentally, spiritually. And so when you go there with yourself and you realize and you address and accept the ways that you have not met your own expectations personally, then you can kind of start to craft what type of trip or what type of vacation would help me reset. Because we all need rest. We all need to sometimes just be by yourself and think about where you are, where you've been, where you want to go, who you need to become, what type of rooms you need to get into, what type of mindset that you need to kind of change and grow. And so when you do that, you know, it starts at home. It starts at, like I said, addressing where you are. You can start to kind of craft, if you want to take a vacation, what does that look like? Yeah. Do you want to do something where you're really active and where you're going four-wheeling and skiing and jet skiing and fishing and hiking? Or do you need more of a mental reset, really zen, really meditation worthy type of experience? And then, you know, talk to people who have done that. So you could contact us directly. Yeah. Like I said, we've got a small team, a couple of people, but we also have some literature. I'll give you the link on. I have a new e-guide coming out, a new ebook, and it probably coming out January of 26. But
okay, and we'll make sure we put all that in the description.
Okay.
Because Mary does everything, and
don't do everything. I don't do everything. I don't walk on water yet.
And that's not what you told me. I remember. No, I'm joking.
But in all honesty, we've all been there, and I've done that my own self. Transitioning from pharmaceuticals to professorship, yeah. I've had to do that my own self. I've had to look to see, okay, well, what are some areas that I feel that I have fallen short, yeah. Physically, yeah. So that's my own, even diet and exercise. Yeah. Financially, how much money do I have saved? How much am I investing? What am I investing in? If it's not where I'm at, why is that? Spiritually, how is my walk with God? You know, if I'm not really praying, not really waiting for him for an answer, not really trusting him, not really, am I having faith? Am I reading my Bible? So, you know, being honest with my own self helped me to realize that there were several areas where I thought I was doing much better, or I thought I was a lot more progressive than I actually was. And then I kind of realized, okay, well, who do I need to be talking to? What kind of rooms do I need to be into? What kind of mindset do I need to transition so that I can think bigger, so that I'm able to understand God's purpose for my life, my own passions, and how can I use entrepreneurship to do that in healthcare? So this has been a solution to, you know, one of the issues that I've had with my own self. And right. Now I want to use that to hopefully bring value to others. And that's what I feel that God has put on my heart. Just tell people your story in mm-hmm. so many ways, yeah. And, give them ways where they can feel safe, give them ways where they can address their own personal issues. Yeah. And hopefully that will help them to realize their passions. So okay. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And you figured one of those solutions was to come on my show. because I
You
am.
asked me here. Oh, sorry.
I did ask her to come on.
Sorry.
See, this is what
Cut
we
that
do.
out.
No, I'm not cutting it out. I'm just you. I call myself. I'm calling myself trying to be. I call myself trying to be pettier, and you got pettier. I call myself trying to be pettier. You got pettier. This is what we do. I throw her right.
Don't come for
She
me.
comes back with a left hook. So
You know
and the
what?
thing.
The other thing I've learned. You get a lot of no's in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So we have spoken to several investors, angel investors. Sorry,
You
angel
go trying
investors.
to be cute, but it's okay. Come on.
I know. I should have just stuck with what I know, which is
Go
all
ahead.
black.
No. You've spoken to a lot of
Yeah.
investors.
So, you get invited. You do get invited to different conferences where you have the opportunities to talk to investors or talk to other other businesses that are further along. We've spoken to Travelocity, American Airlines in the beginning, and we actually did an accelerator program out of Silicon Valley last year before last. So in the beginning, you get a lot of no's. You get a lot of people that they just don't really grasp what you're trying to do, what you're wanting to do. And so because they don't get it, it's easy for them to be like, nah, I don't know what's going on. So it seems like it's going to fail. I know we were poking at each other, but you also really learn how to kind of grow a pair.
Yeah.
You got to walk into a room and even if nobody goes for you, even if nobody backs you, you've got to back yourself. And so that's been another lesson that I didn't realize would be so important. But I've learned that when you walk into a room, eyes are on you.
Yeah.
And won't go too far into it, but I will say that there's not a lot of there's not a lot of younger people in general, but there's even less women and there's even less minority women. So, when I specifically walk into a room, I can feel eyes on me.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love it because I get the opportunity to craft the person that I want to be. And I'm Mary Blake. I own this company. I'm the CEO. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to make a lot of money and we're going to help a lot of people, jump on or don't. So I actually really like driving that perspective.
Kind of like a personal motivation.
Sorry?
I said kind of like a personal motivation.
Yeah, kind of. You have to be your own
That
personal motivator. You really
comes
do.
from deep down within.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Correct. But you can't do that if you don't believe it yourself because people will see that. They can see if you don't believe in your own self. They can see if you don't believe in your own ability.
Yeah.
And they'll pass over you real quick. So, I know earlier, but yeah, I will say that I can be, I'll go tit for tat and we can talk about anything. And I actually now I enjoy a little bit of rebuttal. I enjoy a little bit of, back sass.
Oh, I know. You're natural.
Business wise.
They just
because,
they.
well,
Oh
it lets
no,
me know
but you know what?
you
No,
actually,
you say business wise, but I guess to your point, and I guess I'm aiding your point that, and I'm serious about this.
Oh, okay.
That because how you are genuinely, and this is no shade, because of how you take your experiences, I believe, and basically what you're doing is you're just simply being yourself, and people either accept you for who you are and what you are, or they don't. I call myself trying to throw you a right, you threw back a left hook. I was trying to throw a little shade. But what I'm saying is that even the business world, when you, like you said, when it comes to maybe dealing with some of those rebuttals, there is that something within you that immediately comes back with well, that's not a problem because of this, so you're able to overcome those objections, if you will,
Right.
that could ultimately open up the window or open up the door to something that previously hadn't been discovered. So
I hope so. I
yeah,
hope so. I hope so. And it's not to, like I said, it's not to be disrespectful.
right.
It's really not. It's not to be disrespectful. It's not to be mean. Um, it's just more so, like you said, I represent my company, but I also represent myself and my personal and professional brand. And I stand, I wouldn't stand behind my own self if I didn't think that I was worthwhile.
Gotcha.
So, I stand behind myself 100%. And I, work on my personal, professional, financial, spiritual, mental growth. And that is what I bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So, I look for that when I walk into a room, and I represent that. And I'm proud of that because it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of, and then I like the rebuttal too, because a lot of times it's how you present information, kind of how you rebut. Some people get really defensive really quick,
Yeah.
and initially, honestly, I was like that. I would get really defensive, but I really didn't have any meat and potatoes, because I'd just be like, oh my gosh, they're right. And so you just are like, well, you don't know, you don't understand. And I learned, when you rebut, you want to appreciate the fact that, number one, they found a hole or they found a flaw so that you can fix it.
Right.
But number two, that gives you the opportunity to educate them a little bit on ways that you're developing a solution, or ways that you are addressing the problem that they gave to you, so that now it ends up actually making you look better, because you're not just kind of being defensive and deflecting. You're addressing directly what they said.
Right.
So I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
I do like it. Yeah.
Let me ask you, and we'll wrap this up, but just a couple of more
Mhm.
questions with respect to Trvl-Pro. And I understand we agree we wouldn't necessarily talk dollars, if you will, but I am curious to ask you that, given the fact that you are in that that concierge type service, and there isn't really the so-called fee or dollar amount is obviously going to be based upon the ask, if you will. What does a typical project cost?
Mm.
Let's say, I mean, like you said, I want some gummies for my trip, or I may want some subtle herbs to help me relax, if you will, while I take this trip to Lisbon, Spain, or excuse me, Lisbon, Portugal. Excuse me, wrong
Mhm.
country. And I'm traveling from New York. What does something? How? Let me, based upon some of what you've done before.
Mhm.
Ideally, what does the fee structure range in terms? I mean, are we looking in tens of thousands? Are we looking at hundreds of thousands? Just kind of give us some idea of what we're looking at in terms of fees.
Yeah, so good question. I will say number one is contingent on, I mentioned we have two structures. We have our corporate arm, and then we kind of have a luxury arm. Corporate arm, that's more so your white collar traveling jobs, or military, or a smaller company. And so what we try and do there is we're more so providing the service ongoing, as ways to the company can provide value to their clientele. So, excuse me, to their employees.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you've got like, I'll use military because that's one that we're actually speaking to, or people who travel and they work in the like food and beverage, and they just want to provide their employees toiletries, toothbrush, deodorant, maybe towels, maybe info on an ongoing basis, so that it's one less thing their employees have to buy for themselves.
Right.
Then that's going to be kind of a lower tiered, we actually will try and work with you. We'll say, okay, well, what have you done in the past? Well, what's your budget for something like this? And then we'll just try and work it in. When it comes to the luxury arm, that one is you really are paying for convenience, and you really are paying for our ability to customize your trip around you and to focus on your personal health and wellness. So because of that, we even have like a personalized um, vitamin company where you can send in, if you know you're going to be traveling ahead of time, you can send in a sample, like a small blood sample, and they'll send you personalized vitamins. So that could, to give you dollar amount,
Yeah, I
that
was going to say, but how much is this going to cost me? Roughly.
I got you. So for example, you said New York to Portugal, and did you say party size of 5?
No, but you can party size of 5. Well, that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't say it, but that's fine. Let's go with a party size of 5.
So I would say that could cost per person anywhere between $1,000 and $5,000
per person.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay, I got you.
But again, those are going to be your higher end B2B.
What if I wanted that and I say, look, I want everything that I just asked you about, mm-hmm. and I may want some additional services that I don't necessarily want my wife to find out about. Is that an option? If someone came up to you?
So we don't do anything illegal per se. Depends what kind of services that you.
No, I get it.
We're still going to be completely legal, but I mean, if you. So say, for example, it actually is funny you mentioned that.
No, because you say concierge service, and I'm willing to bet that there are probably those clients that right. They was like, hey, what?
Yeah. So I will say, I mean, we'll go there. Yeah. So there's a conversation I had with a guy, and he worked for an oil and gas company in West Texas, and he was flying him and some clients to Las Vegas. And
oh boy.
He's kind of a friend of a friend of a friend. Right. So he knows, what we're doing, what we're looking to push and build. And he asked something similar. He was like, well, can you guys he asked me, though, if we could facilitate illegal substances like drugs. But he also asked, if that included drugs and girls. That's not something, I mentioned in the very beginning, that this was something I started with prayer, and this was something I started with God opening doors for me, providing for Trvl-Pro to push it. And I don't at this time or in the foreseeable future see how, something that's potentially immoral or unethical could be aligning with our values. That being said, we also talked about competitors.
Yeah.
And I mean, concierge is concierge.
Right.
If you've got the money and you have the means, then, I mean, the sky is the limit. You can buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
On the market. And there are companies that will facilitate that. And they're very discreet, actually. They're actually very, very discreet.
Yeah.
I've looked at just kind of understanding the competitive market and how they operate. There are services out there, and you don't have to give them any information at all. You just give them a credit card, and they even will mask the charge on the credit card so that it looks like something else. Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Wow.
So there's propensity to do anything if you have the money and that's what you want to do, but that's not what Trvl-Pro is looking to do.
Final question, Mary.
Yes.
What do you want the next chapter of your own life to look like?
Oh, gosh.
I already know that one thing that you thought about doing that didn't work out. I keep telling folks we're not gonna go there, but I know they're gonna probably be like, what are they talking about?
One day we'll do a part 2.
Yeah,
and
we'll have
really go
we'll
into all the side conversations.
yeah.
One thing that the next chapter for my own life, a couple things that I'm planning. So I mentioned previously that I'm completing my doctoral degree in health policy.
Yeah.
So health science and policy. So I can't say a whole lot because it's actually in motion, but I would say political health is not out of the realm of
Wow.
expectations.
Oh, okay.
And gosh, yeah, that's another conversation we'll have to have off
okay.
the camera. But yeah, so I would say, political health is not out of the realm of possibilities. And Texas is a really interesting place because we kind of had, specifically Dallas, you kind of have this integration of, both parties. And you've got, really, really liberal sides, really, really conservative sides, people that are kind of independent. I've growing up as conservative, but understanding and having friends and coworkers and family. And to be honest, healthcare is actually more so on the liberal side because you're just dealing with so many different perspectives. But that being said, that is in the foreseeable future pretty closely. And then also in the distant future, I would ultimately like to exit Trvl-Pro. I think that is such a valuable service and it has a lot of potential. And I just want to make sure it's in the right hands to keep growing. If it's me, that's fine. It's my baby, so I'll keep it. But ultimately, I want to do what's best for the company. And I want to do what's best for the people that it can serve. And if that means that, we have some type of acquisition strategy, and so be it. Now that I've really learned how to birth and grow a company, I can do it again, and I can do it faster. I can do it more effectively. I have a better network. So if that was something that came across for another opportunity, then I can replicate it and I can be even better at it. So that's probably the plan for Trvl-Pro. I want to get to a point where we can, if we want, have some type of acquisition or merger, or we just continue to scale.
Gotcha. Mary, we're going to have your details obviously in the description below, but for those who may want to reach out to you, how can they?
Yeah, so if you want to reach out to me, shoot me an email. It's info@trvlpro.com, or visit me on social media. We also are there, and it's Trvl-Pro Official, and I can see in the link, or my personal social media, which is Mary Blake Official. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I am proud to say she is my little cousin, and I love her dearly. But cuz, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk with me. And we were going to keep it light, and but thank you so much. This was insightful. And while I thought I knew all there was to know about this particular industry, you've taught me an awful lot, despite thinking that I knew everything there was. But so again, thank you for. I know I've gone past your time because she put me on her calendar. I'm tired of these guests putting me on their calendar. Yeah, I may have asked you to come on, but I'm thinking, well, what time? I have to. She rescheduled me. How you reschedule me?
Because I wanted to make sure we had enough time. Because there was a couple of the other days we looked at, and I knew, I was like, I really only have maybe like 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to make sure that we had ample time.
And I had all the time in the world.
You know how important you are to me. So I wanted to make sure that, you're my favorite cousin.
Oh, God. Okay, let's go ahead and end this.
We have so many cousins. There are like hundreds of us. And you're like top 5.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm probably number 5. So anyways, Mary, thank you so much.
Be glad you made the top 5. I mean, golly,
See?
what do you want me to do?
See, here we go. Mary, thank you so much for joining us. And this won't be the last time you come back on. We're definitely going to bring you back. Okay.